Good evening once again, guys. Good evening. Am I audible? Am I audible, guys? Hello. Am I audible? I hope so. Hello. Okay, fine. So let's get started, guys. All right. So in the last prayer sessions, we just started the basic classification of air conditioning systems, isn't it? The two major classifications, such as non-centralized emissions and centralized systems. In the non-centralized classifications, we completed about the window AC, and respectively we started this high wall split air conditioner also, isn't it? And I almost explained the datas or the specification of each kind of machines, isn't it? So on continuation to that itself, the next machine that we are going to discuss, it's about a cassette AC. Okay, so the next type is cassette split AC. So first of all, this cassette AC, which means it is a ceiling suspended unit. What is it? Cassette AC means to be, it's a ceiling mounted unit or a ceiling suspended unit. So here also, with respect to that high wall AC, your outdoor unit will be present on the outside itself, which means, obviously the compressor and condenser will be on the outside of that room itself. And the indoor unit, which is the cassette arrangement, should be implemented like this way, which is shown right in this picture. Okay. Now let's discuss how these cassette AC works. So normally cassette ACs are preferred for to improve the aesthetics of an area. So you can see right here itself. No, like high wall AC, no protruded elements or no protruded things will not be visible on the walls or anything else, and it should be clean as smooth. We can say like that, isn't it? We can see right here itself. The cassette AC will blends with the ceiling itself. So that's why we are using cassette ACs as to be an option right in the market itself. All right. Now, let's see about how the elements or the components that we will be using to install this cassette AC. So here you can see this is how an cassette AC should looks like, especially the indoor unit. Okay. So on this picture, these side slots are termed as to be the supply air side. Okay. So these side slots you can see right here itself now. So this is meant to be the supply air supply air side, and the middle portion you can see this is meant to be the return air portion or the return air side itself. So specifically here in these kind of arrangements, the evaporator should be placed in a manner such a way like that the four sides should be covered with evaporator coils. That means here you can see now the top side is a box like structure. So symbolically you can attach uh, sorry, here the evaporator coils should be arranged in covering the entire four surface of this box arrangement right here itself. Then on the center portion, we can see your fan like this way. I think it's visible right here itself. We can see this now. This is how the fan should be looking right on the center of this cassette AC right here itself. All right. So this is the another arrangement. I think it's visible though. You can see this now. The four sides are covered with evaporator coil itself. All right. So that's how, sorry. Okay, so that's how this cassette AC should looks like. So on the center portion, you'll be having the fan, and deliberately you can see the fans type. On this side, these fans having sideways blades itself, which ensures the throw in a certain manner in like a four-way rejection. So that means we can see in this picture now, these cassette ACs having four sides. First of all, there are different kind of cassette ACs are there, like a four-way cassette unit, three-way cassette unit, two-way cassette unit, and even one-way cassette units are also available. Then the other one is premium cassette unit and mini cassette units. So according to the manufacturers, you will be getting a different types of cassette ACs on the are available right on the market itself. Now, where you will be installing these indoor unit, which means the cassette AC, especially, I told you this should be suspended in the ceiling itself. So before that, you need to study about two basic things. Normally, cassette ACs are preferred where you will be having some kind of false ceilings. That means, there's gypsum board connections. Fair enough. Here in this in the erection of this cassette AC, we need to understand about two basic things, which is the false ceiling and the true ceiling. So true ceiling refers to the original concrete ceiling or the concrete deck that the civil side should be already provided. On the construction time, these concrete decks will be always there. Then after that, according to the client requirement only, you will be implementing this false ceiling, not you. Exactly, that should be the interior teams. So whatever, a true ceiling should be a concrete deck and a false ceiling should be either a grid ceiling or either some kind of gypsum boards. So here, these, once again, guys, the space in between true ceiling and false ceiling is termed as to be plenum box. Sorry, plenum area, pardon. The space in between true ceiling and false ceiling is termed as to be plenum area. Okay, that means the space which we referred as to be the in between space of true ceiling and false ceiling is termed as to be plenum area. So typically the cable trays, the other connections, especially these indoor units, that means these ceiling suspended units are mounted right inside the plenum area itself. So this is how they install or erect these indoor units, especially like this way. You can see this is the threaded rod connection and the other one is the anchor fastener. And you can see right here itself, these are the nut and bolt connections. So on the hanger, sorry, on the box-like structure, you can see some kind of hangers which is connected along with the machine itself, isn't it? So this is the portion where you attach your threaded rod and fasten it with some kind of nut and bolts. Okay. Especially these nut and bolts are not a single manner. It should be implemented such a manner like that. Double nut with locking washer. Why? Because inside this machine you can see this motor attached with a fan, so that induces a lot of vibrations, isn't it? First of all, it is implemented in a suspended manner, isn't it? So it might maybe moved. So gradually or eventually the screw started to unscrew from the threaded rod itself, isn't it? In order to prevent that, we are placing this kind of arrangement termed as to be double nut with locking washer. Now let's discuss about the internal parts. So as I mentioned before, the evaporator coil should be placed in a four-way manner itself. That should be enclosed in a four-way itself. On the center of this machine, you can see your fan, which is the blower fan, which should be attached with a motor. Okay. Then deliberately, the air should be rejected four ways along to the room itself. At the same time, the existing air, which is hot and humid air, should be entered right in middle of that machine itself, which is the return air portion. You can see now. So in that return air portion, the air filters should be placed. All right. So in that portion or in that specific portion, the air filters should be placed after this return or in front of the, sorry, behind of this return air path. Okay. So consequently, the working as the return air get entered right inside to the through this air filter, and it should be forced to blown over the evaporator coil, and thereby an heat exchange will take place. At the same time, it should be grounded again to the room itself. So that's how your rooms get cooled down to the temperature that you've been set it. All right. Then we studied about a portion that has to be some kind of drain connections, isn't it? Here, cassette AC means it is a ceiling suspended unit. So symbolically, here also the drain action, which means the condensation will take place whenever the return air just get contacted with the evaporator coil. So as if in this condition, these water droplets should be dripped to the bottom of that machine itself, which means it should be directly dripped over to the roof. In order to hinder that, we've been placed some kind of arrangement called as to be the drain pan. But eventually this drain pan will end up with filling this condensate water. So in order to displace this water in a certain manner, you will be implementing some kind of drain pump connection. Generally, these drain pumps are used in order to take out the water from that drain pan, then to the outside of the room with the help of some kind of pipe connections. So these drain pumps are not implemented manually after the erection of this machine. Generally, each and every cassette units provides an inbuilt drain pump connection along with the existing machine itself. So no need to worry about the drain pump connection, or it is also called as to be condensate pumps. There are different kind of condensate pumps are there. In some kind of pumps, once the drain pan is filled, then only the pump will work. In other scenarios, as if the machine started to work, the condensate pump also will start to work. So that's how these drain pumps work in a different varieties of application itself. So I hope the idea is clear. Then among these non-centralized AC, cassette AC and concealed AC have the whole uh, ability to provide fresh air. Okay. Whereas in the case of high wall AC, I told you, the return air is getting again and again cycled throughout the room itself. There is no fresh air. That's why you feel dizziness when you seated in a AC room, especially a high wall AC room for a long time. Why? Because there won't be any fresh air. That means there should be less oxygen content, isn't it? That's why. Okay, now. But as in the case of this cassette ACs, you can separately provide fresh air connection. That should be look something like this. Uh, it should be like this. Yeah, you can see this now. This is how they connect the fresh air. You can see on the box-like structure, you can connect some kind of around like this way. What it should be. I think this may should be specified. We can see this now on this machines, not this one. Okay, here it is mentioned. We can see this now. This is the other connections that you can provide fresh air to the cassette AC right here itself. So here you'll be having a lot of advantage. Why? Because the return air which comes from the room and the fresh air from the outside should be mixes up for the next cycle. So that is the advantage of cassette AC. All right, guys. So is the cassette AC clear? Hello, is it clear? Generally, cassette AC specification are much same as to the high wall AC itself, but typically these cassette ACs are ranges from 1 ton, 2 ton, 3 ton, nearly 4 ton itself. That is the typical cassette AC available ranges from the manufacturing ends. Then here also the compressors should be same rotary or scroll compressors, and especially the copper pipe connections is still same, which means the liquid line and the suction line distance should be at least 25 to 30 feet. Okay. And the condenser type is again air cooled condenser itself. Normally in non-centralized air conditioning systems, the condenser should be always preferred as to be air cooled itself. All right. Is there any doubts on this one?
The compressor is outside only.
Yeah, exactly. I told you now. Always in split ACs, the outdoor unit consists of condenser, compressor. That's it. Okay, that is an important portion part in every kind of ODUs. So always we can expect the compressor and condenser right outside of the uh, room, which means you will be call it as to be a ODU unit itself. Okay, now that's it. All
Sir,
right.
what is this air cooled and water cooled difference?
Yeah, that's it.
You
That we can discuss later, ma'am.
oh,
Okay, while
okay,
in
sir. Okay,
chiller. Okay, on the chiller, we can
all right,
look after that topic right there itself. What do you mean by water
all right,
cooled
sir.
and air cooled? Or even in this DSA itself. Okay, fine.
Okay, sir.
Condensation pump only for condensating water drain out only, water drain only, condensation pump only for, yeah, that's it. The working of a drain pump is to deliver the water which is filled right inside the drain pan, and then it will pump out the water to the uh, out of the room with the help of some kind of drain pipe connections, the PVC pipe or CPVC pipes that we are using. That's it. All right. Compressor is still common here. That is either rotary or scroll. That's it. So
So
I
one
hope.
small doubt. Why can't they give this similar fresh air in high wall AC? It is not manufactured like
First
that,
of all,
but
high wall AC is not designed for something like that because it's a wall mounted unit. So you need wall cutting, or what do you call it? Yeah, wall openings are required for that kind of ideas. But if you do that, what will happen? Eventually, the tonnage will not be efficient for that working. But as in the case of cassette ACs, first of all, it's a ceiling mounted unit. And these plenum area, I told you now, the space in between false ceiling and true ceiling, it separates this plenum area and the room area. So deliberately, if you provide this fresh air, we having lot much space in that plenum area itself. And this plenum area is not going to hinder any problems or create any problems to your air conditioning room. Okay, clear?
clear.
Okay, then cassette AC copper pipelines are still same, yeah. I told you for every machines, the IDU to ODU distance should be kept in between 25 to 30 feet. Okay, that is an ideal range. I hope it's clear. Okay, all right. So this is the idea. So the concept is very clear, guys. We having lot much space, and this space is partitioned with the help of a false ceiling, isn't it? So there shouldn't be any hindrance. That means whatever the temperature right inside the plenum area, it should be kept right here itself. And whatever temperature right inside a room, it should be kept again right here itself. So there is no heat exchanging. Clear? That means whatever I'm saying is, I'm not saying like there is a no huge heat exchange. A little bit will be there, but however, it's still not going to affect that area. Okay. Tonnage range again same here. That is it's will be in between a cooling capacity range of 1 ton, 2 ton, even 5 tons are available. Okay. Up to 5 ton. That is the whole concept of these, especially cassette AC, high wall AC, and concealed ACs. Okay. All right. Even for high wall AC, a new kind of high wall AC that I seen in something like called as to be mega split. It's like 4 ton capacity of high wall AC. It's a huge mega split. Mega split means that is an high wall AC itself, but it's having uh, like a high coil structure, and fans will be comparatively different from the normal type of fans. Okay, that's it. All right. So this is the idea of a cassette AC. So how this air is recirculating to your room, this will act as the return air path, and this will act as the supply air path. The supply air will be comes in a 4 directional way itself, and the return air should be going through these perforations or this return air grill, right, placed within the machine itself. Okay, now.
So fresh air, will it cool and come or
No,
directly
no,
come as
that's
hot
why I
air?
told you. These fresh air also having a certain temperature which is nearly equivalent to atmosphere, isn't it? That's why it is not directly supplied instead to the room. Instead of that, it is supplied right inside to the machine. So what I told you now, the return air and fresh air will mix us up, and it will again contacted with the evaporator coil and then cool down, and it should be again supplied over to the room itself. So this is how the works happen. Okay, clear?
Clear, sir. In desert areas, I mean, desert means like
Even not a problem.
it
The
will be too
coil
hot.
load will the coil load will be comparatively high. That's it. That means you need to set the coil load has to be high. அதாவது ரொம்ப
Okay,
நெகட்டிவ் டெம்பரேச்சர் இருந்தா தான் நம்ம அந்த மாதிரி இடங்கள்ல யூஸ் பண்ண முடியும் டைரக்டா ஃப்ரெஷ் ஏர். And
okay, sir.
this
Okay.
cassette ACs are not much used for that kind of deserty regions. Preferably, they will go for some kind of air cooled type, sorry, water cooled type based refrigerants for that areas itself. Water cooled based condensed. Okay, that we can discuss later. So I hope this cassette AC is clear. Next of all, we're going to discussing about concealed AC. So here you can see this is the opening that we can provide for the fresh air connections. Just cut it out and just connect a duct or a circle duct or something. Anything else you can connect right inside to this connection. So obviously the fresh air should be entering right into that area itself. Okay, that's it. Then this is meant to be concealed AC. Concealed AC is again a kind of ceiling suspended unit itself. Okay. Concealed AC is also called as to be some kind of slim ducts. Slim ducts. Here, the concept is very much similar to cassette AC itself, but it is a side throw. Here you can see the air is thrown in a down throw manner, whereas in the case of concealed AC, it should be thrown in a side throw manner itself. Okay, so here you can see. So this is the concept. These concealed AC consist of basically an evaporator coil and a blower fan and an air filter. This is the indoor unit arrangement for a DX type FCU. So what do you mean by DX FCU? Which is direct expansion fan coil unit. So concealed AC is also called as to be fan coil units or DX fan coil units. All right. So here, right inside this machine, the compressor, condenser, even expansion valve also should be placed on the ODU itself. Okay. That is the concept of concealed AC. Then the erection should be still same as per the cassette AC itself, which means you will be having a threaded rod and an anchor fasteners, nut and bolt connections, and it should be connected along with the hangers of those machine indoor machine itself or that concealed AC. Then whatever guys, each and every machine's having a drain pan and a drain pipe connection. That is a mandatory thing right inside the machine itself. You can see this now. This is the drain pipe connection which should be sorted out from the machine itself, and this is the copper piping end connection right inside, for this concealed AC. Yeah, exactly. In high wall, thermostatic expansion valve is inside, but as in the case of concealed AC, so generally concealed AC is preferred for like a smoother operating machine, smooth operating machine. So I will explain what is the idea behind that or what is the concept behind that. So in concealed AC, the evaporator and blower fan is the only member you can see right inside the indoor machine. And you can see the arrangement of this coil, isn't it? Generally, in a case of concealed AC or a fan coil unit, the evaporator coil is placed in front of the fan. And this arrangement is called as to be blow through arrangement. What is it? Blow through arrangement. Blow through arrangement. Suppose if the evaporator coil is placed behind of the fan, then it is termed as to be a draw through type fan. What is it? Draw means to pull something. Blow means to push something on top of that coil. So that is the concept of blow through arrangement and draw through arrangement. So typically in concealed ACs, it's always should be a blow through type itself. Why? Because the coil should be placed in front of the fan. Or in other words, we can say the final element of these machines should be always an evaporator coil. So what is the advantage of this one? We know, guys, as if the fan started to work, it creates some noises around that area itself. So it should be a bit disturbance to the personals that should be working under the machine. That means, even though this is installed in the same plenum area, the sounds should be resonated right across that area itself. That's why, in order to eliminate the noise, we are placing this evaporator coil as to be a final element. So what will happen? As if the air, which consists of that noise, should be blown across this evaporator coil, eventually the noises should be eliminated right there itself. Okay? So that is the concept of this arrangement, especially these blow-through arrangements. Then the other working is still same. These cold air is directly blown to the room. At the same time, on your rooms, you can see something called as to be return grill connections. What is it? So this is mandatorily provide underneath or beneath or either on the side walls of that area itself. So what happens? The return air comes from the room, should be entered on the back side of the machine. At the same time, inside this plenum area, you will be providing some kind of openings. So I will show this typical example right in the centralized DC classification itself. So while discussing that thing, you will eventually understand how it's working. So a small opening, which means, in your homes, uh, you will be initially advise the, what do you call him? Yeah, civil engineer to provide some kind of ventilation holes, isn't it? Especially in, I think in my native homes, in our homes, it should be designed something like a circle, square, pentagon, hexagon, like a design thing. Actually, it is a purpose to, for a proper ventilation. You've been seeing that, isn't it? So typically, the concept is the same thing here also. You will be simply provided a small opening which connects the atmospheric air to the plenum area. That means a simple flow of atmospheric air should be provided or allowed right on to the plenum area itself. So this plenum area always should be consisted with this return air and fresh air. So we know if this is a blow through type, however, a small suction should be available at the backside of the machine. That's how these return air and fresh air is pumped again and blown over through this coil, and it is ready for the next cycle. All right. So this is the working explanation of a concealed AC or a DX fan coil unit. Is it clear? Is it clear,
When
guys?
the TXV is outside, and
Hmm.
when it cools down, when the pressure reduces outside itself,
Sorry,
uh,
clear ஆகலமா.
TXV வெளியே இருக்கு இல்லைங்களா? TXV is outside in this AC. So atmospheric hot air will not affect the cooling.
No, no, no.
If the
Actually, I told you
TXV,
now, these whole things are enclosed to each other. So it doesn't, first of all, in the refrigerant study, I already explained that, the low pressure side and high pressure side is always greater than that of your atmospheric pressure. That means there shouldn't be any intervention from the atmospheric levels. You know, அது
okay,
உங்களுக்கு உங்க
okay.
கூலிங் எல்லாம் எஃபெக்ட் பண்ணாது எப்படி இருந்தாலும். சிம்பிளா
சரி சரிங்க சார்.
கண்டென்சர்ல மட்டும் டெம்பரேச்சர் டிராப் பண்ணும். உங்களுக்கு எக்ஸ்பான்ஷன் வேல்ல ஒரு ப்ராப்ளமும் கிடையாது. இட் வில் டூ இட்ஸ்
ஓகே
ஒர்க்கிங்.
சார்.
ஓகேனா, தட்ஸ் இட்.
ஓகே.
அது நீங்க இப்ப திறந்து வெளியே வச்சிருந்தா கூட பிரச்சனை இல்லை. அந்த டப்பாவை மாத்தி வெளியே வச்சிருந்தா கூட உங்களுக்கு ஒர்க்கிங் நடக்கும். யூனோ, the refrigerant is carried right inside the element, not on the outside, isn't it? So that's not a problem. Then it is maintained in a certain pressure also, which is higher than that of our atmospheric pressure. So there
Pressure.
shouldn't be any intervention from the atmospheric side. So
Okay sir.
the cooling capacity range of concealed is again, which is a range in between of 5 ton itself, which means from 3 ton to 5 ton. That's how you'll be installing. Generally, this is preferred for something like, this hotel rooms, especially this cabins, hotel room, especially, yeah, bedrooms. On that areas, they will provide something like this. So this should be act as the supply. And on the bottom side, you can see this now. This is the return air path. And also it's called as to be a return air grill with a trapdoor connection. The trapdoor connection, which is nothing but, if some faults are appeared right inside the machine. So what we need to do? We need to open up the machine and we need to maintain the machine, which means do some kind of maintenance right in the machine. So on that times, it's hard to break the entire fall seal. Instead of that, if you provided a trapdoor, something like that way, what will happen? Eventually it is much more simpler to remove that trapdoor, and eventually you can see the falls right caused inside the fan coil units or even in any kind of machines, especially ceiling suspended machines. Okay, clear? Well enough. This is the basic concept of a concealed AC. Here also the compressor types are rotary or scroll, and the condenser is always air cooled itself. And the life expectancy should be expected around like 12 to 15 years. It's up to the usage itself. And the copper pipe length, still it's 25 to 30 feet itself. Okay. So these cassette AC and concealed AC, both are providing fresh airs. Okay. But still it's considered as to be non-centralized machine due to its their less expertise of tonnage range, which means, they're having lesser tonnage ranges. Okay. And the next one is tower AC. Okay. What is it? Tower AC. So it should be much more similar to your, which is your, what is that? Yeah, air cooler. So you've been seeing your air coolers in your homes, isn't it? But this air coolers and tower ACs are not much similar. The concept is very different here itself. In this tower AC means to be, it is a floor mounted unit. That means it requires some space on the floor. Okay. So that is the first drawback of this machine. It needs some space, but the installation of this machine is very simple. In other words, simply we can place this machine wherever we want and just place that machine right there itself. That's it. No drilling, no wall openings. No, like likewise cassette ACs or concealed ACs or like even high wall ACs. No complications to install, isn't it? It's very simple to install on an area. Then after that, the copper pipe connections should be there. That is a still is a not a complication though. It should be easily directed out from an area, even if it is placed on this like a corner of the room. However, in tower ACs, now we can discuss the components. So this is how a tower AC should looks like. I told you guys, which is the supply side. Always the lesser area should be considered as the supply side and the larger area should be considered as the return air path. So wherever the return air path you will be having on that specific area, you should be implemented or you should be installed your air filters. So through this side, there should be, that means the cold air should be blown to the rooms, and through this side, the existing hot air should be sucked over to this machine. And at the same side, you will be placing your evaporator coil. You can see this now. So on the bottom of the evaporator coil, you can see your drain pan connection, and it should be connected with some kind of drain pipe, and it should be rejected outside itself. So once the hot and humid air getting contacted with the evaporator coil, then these air is drawn to this through this fan, and it is again supplied over to the room itself. So you can see this is a draw through arrangement. Why? Because here the evaporator coil is not placed in front of the fan. Instead of that, it is placed at bottom of that fan itself. So typically these kind of arrangements are termed as to be draw through arrangement. Even though sometimes these evaporator coil is placed in a diagonal manner. Okay, diagonal manner. So whatever, this is the working concept of a tower AC. Generally, tower is, beg your pardon, in even though for tower AC, the outdoor units are still same, which means on the OD unit, you'll be having your compressor, condenser, and inside the machine, you can see your expansion valve. That is an optional thing, however. Now, generally, the available capacities of these tower ACs ranges from nearly like 3 ton to 7 ton. Then, among these non-centralized machines, Tavaresi is the only machine where you can see a closed type centrifugal blower fans. That means these fans are much more reliable, and it can provide higher throw length than a conventional type blower fan itself. So that's why in the case of a tower AC, the throw length is ranged in between 25 to 30 feet of distance, or like sorry, like around like 40 feet even. Okay. That's why these tower ACs are preferred generally for something like a meeting room, conference rooms. You know, why? Because it should be least meeting room, conference room. That meetings or conference should be held like a once in a week, twice in a week. So at that time only we require this machine, isn't it? But even though it can withstand that much area by providing the enough amount of air to those uh, room itself. Okay, that is the first advantage of this tower AC itself. Here, the capacity of the fan is much more greater than that of a normal or a conventional type fan itself. All right. So that's it. That's all about tower AC. So while studying about tower AC, first of all, it's a floor mounted unit, and this is a draw through arrangement. Fans will be there, and especially these fans are much more reliable and powerful, and that's why it is called as to be closed type centrifugal blower fans. And here the installation is very simple. Then we compare to other kind of machines. Okay, now that's it. So is there any doubts on this one? So that is all about the non-centralized machines.
In concealed AC, some air, return air will be going through other parts of the false ceiling. Some,
No,
for
no.
example,
In cassette, in concealed AC, however, it should be the return air again forced into the machine itself. You know, guys, actually, when the fan is working, the behind side is always considered as to be the negative side, which means the suction side, isn't it?
yes,
Even for a what do you call, yeah, a pedestal fan or even a table fan, if you place a paper on behind of the fan, what will happen? It will draw the paper or suck the paper directly on the backside of the fan itself, isn't it? That is the same concept here itself. Tower AC condenser, compressor, outside expansion valve. No, no. Tower AC condensers are generally air cooled itself. I told you now, most of the non-centralized machines having air cooled condensers itself, and compressor still same, rotary or scroll itself. Then expansion valve should be normally placed inside or outside. It's up to the machine here. You know, in conventional type, the expansion valve should be on out on the outdoor unit itself. But in some kind of modern machines, you can see the expansion valve right inside the indoor unit itself. That's not a problem. Okay, the only thing that you need to study, like in the case of concealed DC, the expansion valve should be on the OD unit itself. That's it. Okay. Okay, now I hope it's clear. All right. Next of all, we are going to discussing about the other kind of missions, which is centralized systems. Okay. So in the prayer class, in the prayer class, I already explained the comparison between non-centralized system and centralized systems, isn't it? Now let's discuss about the centralized missions. So generally, centralized missions are sorry, not classification. There are different kind of centralized missions are there. Okay, now, yeah. So these are the different kind of centralized mission types. The first one is DSA, which is ductable split AC. So from here onwards, you will be listening to this term that to be duct, and it should be much common among these centralized missions. So the first one is DSA, which is ductable split AC, and DPA, which is ductable package DC, and RPU, which is rooftop unit, and VRV or VRF, which is variable refrigerant flow or variable refrigerant volume. Okay, and the last one is chiller, and while studying about chiller, we will be also discussing about air handling units also. All right. So these is the things or these are the topics that we need to cover on the upcoming sessions. So let me start with DSA, which is ductable split AC. Okay. So is the introduction is clear now? We already discussed that these centralized machines having higher coverage area, machine cost should be comparatively high, project cost should be comparatively high, but the only advantage, sorry, not that, not the only, here the advantage is for larger applications, often one or a few number of machines is required to done that entire project, isn't it? Satisfactorily, the DSA stands for ductable split AC. So in DSA, this is also mean to be a split AC. That means what? There should be an indoor unit and an outdoor unit will be there. So this is how this ductable split AC should looks like. Okay. Now it's about some kind of basic notes that we need to understand inside this DSA mission, which are the first point is it is a two-box installation unit. That means preferably you will be having an indoor unit and an outdoor unit. Okay. Then after that, in order to connect these both machines, you required copper pipe connections, such as the liquid line and suction line. Then you will be having ducting. So that is the important point among this DSE. Ducting, beg your pardon. In other machines, we studied that the room, pardon, the cold air is directly rejected to the room, isn't it? But as in the case of ductable AC, here the air is not rejected to the rooms directly. Instead of that, this cold air is allowed or traveled across a small passageway and terminated to those rooms according to their need with the help of a small connection or a large system connection called as to be ducting. Okay, now. So ducting, which is nothing but it is passageway which connects from the machine mouth to that to the rooms wherever you need the air conditioning process. So typically, this is the idea of ducting. Okay, now so this ducting will deliver the cold air across the each and every rooms. That's why I told you these machines can cover a large area. So let's consider about the other aspects of this ductable split AC. Here you can see this is how a DSA machine should looks like, which means the indoor unit of a DSA. Once again, guys, DSA machine is meant to be a ceiling suspended unit or a CSU. CSU stands for ceiling suspended unit. Okay, now. So this is how this DSA, first, pardon, DSC is also called as to be concealed AC itself. Okay. Why it's called as to be concealed AC? Why? Because the no other parts are visible from the normal views itself. Why? Because it is installed right inside the plenum area, and the only thing we can see is the cold air comes out from the air terminal, isn't it? So that's why it is also called as to be concealed ACs. So this is the other kind of concealed AC which we already studied. What is it? What is it, guys? The fan coil units. That's it. This is also called
Sir,
as concealed AC or a fan coil unit itself. Yeah, come on. What is it?
one doubt. You said about plenum area. In some areas, there is no ceiling at all,
Sorry?
false ceiling at all. In some buildings, there is no false ceiling at all. Still, they
Yeah,
keep this ducted
till the
AC
exactly,
units.
exactly. I'm not into that things right now itself. Okay now. Like
Okay, sir.
இப்போ சில ப்ராஜெக்ட்ல போடலாம் போடாம இருக்கலாம் அது கிளைண்ட் எண்டு பட் அவர்
Okay, sir.
இப்போ இது வந்து பேசிக்கா ஏஸ்தெட்டிக்ஸ்க்காக நான் சொல்ல வரல. If you need to cover a more and huge area, we can simply implement something a mission called as to be DSA or either DPA. That's it. But if you're installing
Okay, sir.
DSA, you don't having any false ceiling, then it should be visible. There is nothing to do with that. Okay now.
That in that visible case, there is no plenum area.
No, no. Like, first of all, plenum media is meant to be an imaginary space in between false ceiling and true ceiling. Even though there is no false ceiling, the client will give you false ceiling heights. For what?
Okay,
Then
okay.
only you will be working right inside that specified area. Otherwise, the other coordination started to work beyond that area itself, isn't it? You
Okay,
getting my
sir.
point?
So the height, the basic height between
ஆஹ்
ceiling
இப்போ
and roof.
உங்களுக்கு நிறைய இடம் இருக்குன்னு சொல்லிட்டு நீங்க எல்லாத்துலயும் போய் வரைய ஆரம்பிப்பீங்கல்ல அதே மாதிரிதான் அதுக்குதான் அவங்க என்ன கொடுத்திருக்காங்க ஒரு ஹிண்டரன்ஸ் கொடுத்திருக்காங்க ஒரு லெவல் இந்த லெவலுக்கு மேல எனி ஒர்க்ஸ் வரக்கூடாது சொல்லிதான் அந்த ஃபால் சீலிங் ஹைட்டை கொடுக்குறாங்க அவங்க புரியுதா அந்த ஃபால் சீலிங்
Ah,
இருந்தாலும் இல்லைனாலும் இந்த ஃபால் சீலிங் ஹைட் கொடுப்பாங்க எதுக்கு பியாண்ட் திஸ் ஒன் we don't expect any extensions or protrusion from those ductwork, cable tray installation, or even firefightings. Okay, now that's the consideration.
okay, sir.
Okay, so here you can see uh, there are two kind of machines are there, which is DSA double mouth type and DSA single mouth type. Mouth stands for the number of fans that will be placed right inside the machine. Okay, if it is a double mouthpiece machine, that is meant to be you will be having two number of fans right inside the arrangement itself. Whereas if it is a single mouthpiece machine, you only have one mouthpiece. One fan right inside the arrangement. So, as in the case of Blue Star, that means according to Blue Star standard, for their machine lineups, up to 11 ton, whole machines are like whole DSA machines are considered as to be single mouth. But beyond 11 tons, it should be dual mouthpiece machine or double mouthpiece machines. That's it. Okay. So this is pardon. These ideas will vary according to the manufacturers. Okay. That means Blue Star, Hitachi, Voltas, whatever. So I hope the idea is clear. Double mouth, once again, guys, for example, why we requiring these kind of double mouth connections? You know, for certain missions, it should provide a certain amount of air quantity. As we discussed, for 1 ton, it's like 300 CFM, isn't it? In the case of non-centralized emission. But for centralized systems, 1 ton is equal to 400 CF, not 300. Okay. So obviously, just consider, guys, if you having an 8,000 CFM mission, that doesn't means, pardon, these 8,000 CFM is splitted with the help of two fans. So the one fan will blow 4,000 CFM of air. The other fan will blow an amount of and a quantity of air around like 4,000. So total you will be getting a 8,000 CFM. That means 4,000 CFM into two blower fans. Okay, now that's how these double mouthpiece concept work. Clear? Then at the same time, you can see at the bottom of the machine, you can see something called some kind of trays are provided, isn't it? This is also called as to be drip tray connections. Once again, guys. Sorry, guys. Okay, was it? Yeah, drip tray. So what is the purpose of this drip tray connections? Generally, drip trays are implemented at the bottom side of the machine itself. You know, these machines are made some kind of metals, isn't it? So inside these machines, you will be having your evaporator coil, which is comparatively lesser than temperature of the atmosphere. So we studied these machines implemented right inside the plenum area itself. So as if the return air and the fresh air should be comes out from those rooms or from the atmosphere, having some kind of moisture content, isn't it? So when the moisture content hits on the surface of these machines, eventually a small condensation will take place, isn't it? And these condensed water droplets started to drip, and it should be dripped over along on the fall ceiling itself. So eventually what will happen? Small cracks will appear on the fall ceiling itself, isn't it? That's why we are placing these drip tray. So here the drain pan connection from right inside the machine should be terminated again to the a drip tray, and from this drip tray you'll be taking out the drain pipe connection. Okay, now that's it. Now it's about the some basic con idea of erection of machines. First of all, while you are erecting this indoor unit right on the site, a proper 1 feet gap should be provided from the wall to the backside of the machine. So why the backside of machine? On the backside of the machine, you will be having your air filter, or the other thing is termed as to be the return air path. Okay. So always the backside of the machine is considered as to be the return air path. That means here on the backside of the machine, you will be placing your 5 micron fine filters or the back filters. Okay, now that's why a proper 1 feet gap, a minimum 1 feet gap will be provided. It is a mandatory thing. If you stuffed these machine right to the wall side, what will happen? There shouldn't be a proper return air path will not be there, isn't it? So that will eventually affect your supply air quantity. So that's why we will be placing this kind of we need to must place the machine at least at a 1 feet gap distance from the walls. Okay, now you can see this now 1 feet gap for proper return air and flow and space for service personnel. So what is the purpose of service personnel? I told you on the backside of the machine you will be having your return air. Pardon, you can see this now. This is the air filter and this is the evaporator coil, and this is the closed type centrifugal fan, and you can see your expansion valve. Sometimes these closed type centrifugal fans will be connected in a two different manners. The first type is direct transmission and the other one is belt driven transmission. Direct transmission, which means the motor is directly attached to the fan shaft itself, whereas in the case of belt driven transmission, the motor drive the motor shaft and the fan shaft should be connected or looped with a small belt connection. You know, you've been seeing that belt drive connections, especially on bikes, like a shaft bikes, isn't it? And even on your, yeah, rice mills, isn't it? So something like, so that's why, sorry, this is the typical indoor unit study. Okay, now. So here, the placements of these elements are very important. On the backside of the machine, you can see your return air path. That means to be the air filter should be placed on the backside of the machine. And after that, you can see your evaporator coil, expansion valves. So that should be arranged properly, however. And the main thing is the closed type centrifugal fan. Either it should be a direct transmission or a belt driven transmission. Okay, now, which kind of arrangement is this, guys? Is it a blow through type or a draw through type? You can see the evaporator coil is behind the fan, which is meant to be draw through type. Okay, now that's it. Then the cold air is formed, which should be supplied in a supply air duct itself after connecting a flexible canvas connection. So we can learn what is the purpose of this flexible canvas connection and this other accessories also. Okay, now. So mouth, which means mouth is nothing but that is the opening of the machine. The opening of the machine is termed as to be the mouth connection. So the mouth and the duct should be connected with a small piece called as to be flexible canvas connection, which is this one. Okay, now. So while placing an indoor unit, as I mentioned before, a proper 1 feet gap will be there. Otherwise, if the filter is fully covered with dirt or something, you need to replace that, isn't it? There is no space to handle that. What will happen for maintenance purposes? It should be a bit problem for us, isn't it? That's why we are providing a 1 feet gap. And the other one is about the ODU. You know, ODU consists of compressor and condenser normally. Okay, now ODU consists of condenser and compressors. While placing ODUs also, we need to consider some little bit things. First one is, and minimum 8-inch gap should be provided from wall to the backside of the ODU. For what? Then only the atmospheric air will evenly enters into those machines to cool down the condenser coils, isn't it? That means for a proper atmospheric air flow. Then, while placing ODUs, for a huge project, you will be having a lot of outdoor units. So at that time, if you place the ODUs in a parallel way, you must need to provide a certain distance from one ODU to another. That means what? If the hot air is rejected, it should be captured by the backside of other ODU which is placed in front of that, isn't it? So that might be a problem, not to the first one, but the ODU which is in front of that one itself, isn't it? So typically ODUs are arranged in a manner such a way like a series connection, doesn't it? Series, which means it should be linearly placed. Okay, now sideways. Okay, so that's how you need to place your ODUs for like a huge connections. So that's why here they mention direction of air discharge is also important. Next, this is the type of uh, outdoor units. The first one is top discharge with single fan assembly. Okay, so here the atmospheric air should enter through the four ways and should reject it to the top side of the machine itself. That's why it is meant to be a top discharge axial fan. All right, and the other one is, here you can see, even though it looks like a two different machines one stacked over one, but first of all, it's a single box audio itself. That means you'll be having two discharge fans. Okay, now this is meant to be side discharge, and this arrangement is termed as to be Decker arrangement. What is it? Decker arrangement. So this is all kind, these whole kind of audios that I'm saying right here itself are meant to be what? Air cooled types. Okay, it's not water cooled. This whole things right here itself is meant to be air cooled type itself. And this is a normal one, which is the side discharge type. You've been seeing this one, the typical one, isn't it? Side discharge with single fan assembly, and this is also side discharge with double fan assembly. So what is the relevance of placing these two fans? This is for the load controlling. Is my point is clear? It is for load controlling. So what do you mean by load? Cooling loads. We studied that whenever the TXVs got controlled according to the evaporator loads, the refrigerant quantity will be reduced. So at this time, what happens to the condensers? When the cooling load is achieved on the rooms, only one fan will rotate. The other fan will be idle. When the room reaches full load, two fans will be working. It's like a mass translate concept. This is the same thing happens in where you having two compressors in a single arrangement itself. Sometimes in some machines, you can see two compressors. So the one compressor will act as a slave and the other compressor will act as master. That means in full load condition, master will be working. Master and slave will be working. But once the cooling load is achieved right on the areas, the master compressor will be turned into an idle mode and the slave will be working. Clear now? Oh, hello? Okay. Okay, guys.
Both these compressors are interconnected, sir.
Exactly. Once more in Tamil. எதுக்குமா தமிழ் என்னது இப்ப சொன்னதா? ஓகே ஓகே ஃபைன். இவ்வளவுதான் கான்செப்ட், இவ்வளவுதான்மா. இப்போ நான் சொல்லியிருந்தேன், நம்ம ரூம்ல லோட் அச்சீவ் ஆகும்போது டிஎக்ஸ்வி விச் இஸ் தெர்மோஸ்டாட்டிக் எக்ஸ்பான்ஷன் வேல் உங்களுடைய அதுல ஒரு க்ளோஷர் நடக்கும். அப்போ உங்களுக்கு கண்டென்சர்ல இருந்து ஒரு ரெஃப்ரிஜரன்ட் ஃப்ளோ கம்மி ஆகும்போது இவாபரேட்டர்ல இருந்து கம்ப்ரஸர் போறதும் கம்மி ஆகும். அப்ப கம்ப்ரஸர் ஒர்க்கிங் கம்மியாக ஆரம்பிக்கும். அப்படித்தானே நான் சொல்லியிருந்தேன்ல, ஸ்பீடை வேரி பண்ணும். அதுக்கு ஆக்சுவலி யூ நீட் a VFD, வேரியபிள் ஃப்ரீக்வன்சி டிரைவ். we can learn that later in VRFs. ஓகே, அப்ப அது நடக்கும்போது தான், அதாவது எப்போல்லாம் கம்ப்ரஸர் ஸ்பீட் வேரி ஆகும்போது, ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஆஃப் ஆல் இந்த ரெண்டு கம்ப்ரஸருமே இன்டர் பாயிண்ட் தான், லோடுக்கு ஏத்த மாதிரி. சம்டைம்ஸ் ஆன் ஃபுல் லோட்ல ரெண்டு கம்ப்ரஸரும் ஒர்க் ஆகும், லைக் மாஸ்டரும் ஸ்லேவும் ஒர்க் ஆகும். இப்போ ரூம் கூலிங் லோட் அச்சீவ் ஆயிடுச்சுன்னா இதுல ஸ்லேவ் மட்டும் தான் ஓடும், மாஸ்டர் அப்படி ஆஃப் ஆயிடுவாரு. புரியுதா உங்களுக்கு? இதே தான் நான் இந்த சொன்ன இந்த ஃபேன்ஸோட கான்செப்ட். ஓகேங்களா? புரிஞ்சுதா ஷாகுல் நபீத்? ஷாகுல் தான் நம்ம பேரு, ஷாகுல். யா, ക്ലിയർ?
ഓക്കെ സർ.
ഓക്കെ, യാ, മിസ്സസ് റോസ് മാം. ഓക്കെ, അതുപോലെ തന്നെ ബാക്കിയുള്ളവർക്ക് മനസ്സിലാണോ? മനസ്സിലായോ?
യെസ് സർ, ക്ലിയർ.
ഓക്കെ ഓക്കെ ഓക്കെ, ഫൈൻ ഫൈൻ. അവിനാശേ, ക്ലിയർ ആണോ അവിനാശേ? Two compressor have always no. It's like I told you now. It's typically up to the manufacturers. Now I will teach how this. So I will. We can look after this piping of these connections. Okay now. So this is meant to be the piping. Piping means what? The copper piping connections. Generally, we studied that for you will be having one indoor unit and one outdoor unit, isn't it? That means for 11-ton machine, you will be having a 11-ton ODU. That is a single suction line and a single liquid line. So this is meant to be a single circuit. But in some conditions, I told you about some kind of load controlling, isn't it? So in those scenarios, we can see something called as to be double circuit. Indoor, you will be having two ODUs. For example, here it is 11-ton indoor unit. For that one, they provided two 5.5-ton capacity ODU right there itself. In other words, two suction lines and two liquid lines will be there. But it should be commonly connected to that indoor unit itself. So here also it's dependent, it is preferred for the load controlling. Okay now? Clear? Now I will show how this yeah, this is the thermostat control. Thermostat means what? It's like a remote. Like you can on or off, and you can control the fan speeds, temperature control, and yeah, that's it. That is meant to be the wired thermostat. And it's not wireless, it is wired thermostat. It is always connected with the machine itself. You can see right in this picture now, something is hanging around. So this is meant to be the wired thermostat. And you are having a lot of signaling cables also. And this is a typical brochure study of Blue Star machines. Okay, you can see this now. Air cooled ducted split air conditioner, R1 or R2 series. R1 is preferred, meant to be, sorry, R1 is a kind of compressor. R1 compressor and R2 compressor. In R1 compressor, they will be using R22 refrigerant. In R2 compressor, they will be using R407C refrigerant. Okay, now that's it. All right, is it clear? Now just look on this outdoor unit, number of ODUs. For 3-ton machine, they are using a reciprocating compressor in the Blue Star. Okay, now you can see 36,000 BTU per hour. Is that right, isn't it? 1 ton is equal to 12,000 BTU. That means 3 ton is equal to 36,000 BTU. That's right, isn't it? Then after that, from 5.5 ton to 22 ton, they are using hermetically sealed scroll compressor. You can see this now, scroll compressor. Now, come again to this portion. On this 11-ton machine, we can see there are two ODUs are there. How much ODUs? Two ODUs, but one compressor. But for 8.75-ton machine, they are provided only one ODU, but two compressors. So this is meant to be load controlling. We can see two different things are there. For example, 11-ton, you can see 11-ton, and this is also 11-ton, but the model number is different, isn't it? This is a DSA 1322. This is DSA 1321. Now look on to this point, guys. You can see capacity control. On this portion, for the first 11-ton machine, it varies from 0, 50%, 100%. Now you understand what is the relevance of these two ODUs. That means a pakka load controlling mechanism. If you're having two ODUs, I told you, the refrigerant should be flown across to that to one ODU when the room reaches the set points. When you will be requiring high cooling loads, the two ODUs will be working. Okay, now that's why they mentioned like this way. But in this 11-ton, you can see 0, 100%. That means like on, off. That's all. Then other one, 16.5 ton, you can see 0%, 33%, 66%, 100%. And for the number of ODUs, you'll be having 2 ODUs, especially for 16.5 and 22 tons. Okay, now clear. But still, you're only having 1 compressor. So the concept is very simple, guys. If you're having 2 ODUs or 2 compressors, there should be a precise load controlling will happens. Okay, clear. I think this point is clear.
Clear, but when both are working, both the line will connect to one evaporator coil only.
Indoor unit, that's it. அதாவது ரெண்டு லைனுமே ஒரு இன்டோர் யூனிட் தான் போகும். அதான் கான்செப்ட். ஓகேங்களா? அப்ப இதுக்கு for that one you will be having some kind of mechanism right inside the VCR cycle itself. That's it. So with the others, is it clear? Avinash and Rose ma'am, is it all clear? Good to go?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Fine, fine. Okay. Shivaprakash, உங்களுக்கு புரிஞ்சுதா? Shivaprakash எடுக்கிறது ஓகே ஓகே just catch it up. ஓகேனா? So இது உங்களுக்கு இப்ப புரியலனாலும் நீங்க VRF எடுக்கும்போது இன்னும் clear ஆகும் உங்களுக்கு. அதுக்கு தான் இப்பவே சொல்லி விட்டுட்டு இருக்கேன் நான். Okay?
Okay, sir.
Okay. Table once again. Okay. So table once again. Yeah. Table nothing here. Here while you if you get a company brochure, which means the machine brochure. So this is meant to be the machine lineups of Blue Star company. Okay now. So they having machines ranging from 3 ton to 22 ton. That is their range. Then for 3 ton only, they are using reciprocating compressor. From 5.5 ton to 22 ton, they are still using scroll compressor itself, which is a hermetically sealed scroll, which is a different thing. Then if you seen something like this capacity control, and instead of like 0 to 100, you can see 50, 33, 66. That means either you will be having 2 compressors or 2 ODUs for load controlling. That's the concept. Okay? മനസ്സിലായോ? Clear, Shamir? അതായത് ലോഡിനനുസരിച്ചിട്ട് നമ്മൾ കൺട്രോൾ ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ടാണ് നമ്മൾ ഈ രണ്ട് ഓഡിയോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ 2 കംപ്രസർ എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞ് വെക്കുന്നത്. ക്ലിയർ ആണോ ഷമീർ? Okay, fine, that's it. So I think we can
number of compressor mentioned anywhere, sir, in that sheet, or number
sorry?
of ODUs. Number of ODUs is only mentioned. Number of compressors is
also mentioned. Look here.
Okay.
Number of compressor right on this one. You can see for 8.75 ton machine they provide. That's I told you guys. Actually, you can control either with an ODU or either with an compressor. It's up to you. Pardon, it's up to the manufacturers according to their designs. Okay now. Then once again, you don't need to expect the same kind of machine lineups in other brands. Why? Because their idea is different. So probably it may change. Okay. So I hope it is enough for today. We can catch up with the remaining sessions. Okay. So we can wind up the session for today. Okay, guys. Bye. Have a great day. Bye.